All right, let's dive right in. We're going to tackle a massive question today. Why do we get sick? Now, you might think you know the answer, but what's wild is that the answer has totally flipped in just the last 100 years or so. Seriously. We've gone from fighting these massive infectious plagues to battling diseases that are, well, born from our own modern lifestyles. Let's unpack that.
So, to really get a grip on our health today, we got to take a step back in time. Just think about it for a second. What were the diseases that really, truly kept your great-grandparents up at night? I'm willing to bet it's a completely different list than what worries you and me.
And boom, this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? Back in the day, the big enemies were infections, things that could sweep through a town like wildfire. Tuberculosis, the plague, cholera, the flu. Today, our biggest health battles are against these chronic, non-communicable diseases, NCDs for short. You know them, heart disease, diabetes, cancer. So the billion-dollar question is, what on earth changed?
Well, what changed is this huge phenomenon, something so big that scientists actually gave it a name. They call it the epidemiological transition. And let me tell you, understanding this one concept is pretty much the key to unlocking almost every single modern health challenge we face.
So what is this transition exactly? In plain English, it's the historic, seismic shift in how we live and, ultimately, how we die. We've literally moved from a world where the main threats were germs and not having enough food to a world where the main threats are chronic conditions, often directly linked to how we live our day-to-day lives.
A scholar named Abdel Omran actually mapped this all out beautifully into 3 stages. First, you had the age of pestilence and famine. Life was short, life was brutal. Life expectancy was, maybe 40 if you were lucky. Then, as we got smarter about sanitation, hygiene, and medicine, we entered the age of receding pandemics. Things got better, people started living longer. And that led us straight to where we are now, the age of degenerative and man-made diseases. We're living longer than ever, but we're facing a whole new set of problems that come with it.
And listen, this isn't some ancient history we're talking about. Just look at this data from India. In 1990, a little over 37% of deaths were from these NCDs. Fast forward to 2016, and that number skyrockets to almost 62%. That is a mind-blowing jump in just over 25 years. We're watching this transition happen in real time.
Okay, so we've established that the enemy has changed. The game is different, so let's get to know this new enemy a little better, these so-called lifestyle diseases. And what's kind of crazy is how familiar this list is, right? Unhealthy diets, not moving enough, chronic stress, not getting good sleep. These aren't some mysterious viruses. These are the quiet, slow-moving forces behind our biggest health crises. It's often driven by bigger things too, like how our cities are built and how easy it is to get cheap processed food. These aren't things we catch, they're the patterns we live.
And here's where the rubber really meets the road. This table connects those daily habits to very specific outcomes. Take a diet high in salt, add in some chronic stress, and you've got a recipe for hypertension, which doctors call the silent killer because you might not feel a thing. Or think about a sedentary lifestyle combined with obesity, a major risk factor for type 2 diabetes. The line between our habits and these diseases is crystal clear.
Now, here's a fascinating twist in the story. Our success in fighting off all those infections gave us an incredible gift: longer lives. But this has created what you could call a longevity paradox. We're living longer than any humans in history, but that extra time on the clock comes with its own very unique set of challenges.
And to really get our heads around this, it helps to know the difference between 2 terms that sound kind of similar. You've got geriatrics, that's the medical field focused on treating diseases when we get older. But then you have gerontology, which is way broader. It's the study of the whole aging process itself, from the social side to the mental side. And we absolutely need both to figure this out.
Because as we get older, our bodies they naturally change. It's part of the deal. Our arteries get a little less flexible. Our lungs become a bit more vulnerable. Our muscles aren't quite as strong. Now, here's the key takeaway. An aging body basically provides the perfect environment for all those chronic diseases we've been talking about to set up shop.
This new reality has completely changed the game for elderly care. It's not just about waiting for someone to get sick and then treating them anymore. The whole focus has shifted to being proactive. It's about maintaining independence, actively managing chronic conditions to prevent them from getting worse, and intervening early to slow down physical and mental decline. It's all about adding life to the years, not just years to the life.
So you add it all up, a new kind of enemy, a population that's living longer, and it becomes obvious. We have to completely rethink our definition of health and how we approach taking care of people. We need a whole new playbook.
And you know what? The World Health Organization absolutely nailed it decades ago with this definition. Health isn't just about not having a disease. It's about a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. That holistic idea, it has never been more important than it is right now.
And we are starting to see this bigger view of health in action, especially when it comes to mental health. I mean, look at this timeline from India. It shows a real evolution in thinking, from a national program way back in '82 to a major law protecting patient rights in 2017, and now to modern tools like helplines and apps. We're finally getting it. Mental well-being is a core part of public health.
Now for the best news in all of this, we are not helpless here, not at all. Because these diseases are tied to lifestyle, our choices have immense power. This list right here, this is the toolkit for modern health. A balanced diet, moving your body, managing stress, getting regular checkups. Prevention is, without a doubt, our single most powerful weapon. But it doesn't just stop with our individual choices. To really, truly rise to the challenges of the 21st century, we have to zoom out, way out. We have to start embracing a concept that connects our personal health to the health of the entire planet. And that brings us to this incredible idea called the One Health concept. It's based on a simple but profoundly important truth. You cannot separate the health of people from the health of animals and the health of our environment. It's all one big interconnected system. And if you're wondering why this is so critical, this chart spells it out. We all just lived through a brutal global lesson in zoonotic diseases, illnesses that jump from animals to humans. At the exact same time, we've got antibiotic resistance, which is basically a ticking time bomb created by overuse in both medicine and farming. It's proof that our health is tied to the health of our food, our water, and our entire ecosystem. It's all connected.
Which brings us right back to this final, crucial question. Through incredible feats of science and public health, we pulled off a modern miracle. We added decades to the average human lifespan. The challenge for our generation, for you and me, isn't just about living longer anymore. It's about living better. So how do we make sure all those extra years are filled with vitality, with purpose, with well-being? That's the great health shift we're all a part of. Thanks for tuning in.